It all began with a glimmer on August 6, 2025. A moment so quiet, so sterile in a lab, and yet so deeply unsettling in its implications. The James Webb Space Telescope, the most powerful observatory in human history, was forced into emergency override mode. Not for a supernova, not for a black hole, but for something far more local and far more terrifying, a comet, or at least something that looked like one. It was designated 3I Atlas. At first, it was assumed to be another interstellar wanderer, cold, silent, and predictable. But when Webb's sensors locked on and the first wave of data poured in, what they captured wasn't just unexpected, it was impossible. The chemical signature didn't fit any natural model. The ratios were grotesque, the elements mismatched, the behavior erratic. And as the numbers kept arriving, one fear began to quietly thread its way through the minds of every astrophysicist watching the feed. What if this isn't a comet at all? What if this is something sent? The first sign that something was terribly wrong came from the comet's coma, the bright envelope of gas surrounding its nucleus. Normally, at this distance, 6 astronomical units from the Sun, a comet should be asleep, frozen, inert. The sunlight out there is weak, too feeble to cause any meaningful outgassing. But 3I Atlas was already active, violently so. James Webb picked up spectral lines dominated not by water vapor, as expected, but by carbon dioxide. A lot of it 8 times more than water. That ratio 8:1 was not just unusual, it was unprecedented. Typical comets barely reach 0.7. Even Borisov, the last interstellar visitor, hovered around 0.5. This was something else. A body spewing carbon dioxide at a rate that couldn't be explained by temperature or solar proximity. It was as if the object had been designed to vent this exact compound under conditions where nature wouldn't permit it. Even stranger, the coma was ghostly thin. There was almost no dust, no solid debris, no typical chaos, just gas. Controlled, smooth, and highly specific gas emissions that hinted at a different kind of chemistry, one alien to our understanding of comet formation. As the Webb telescope locked in deeper, the story turned darker. Its sensors picked up something even more disturbing than gas: nickel. Strong, consistent nickel spectral lines started appearing across the ultraviolet and near-infrared bands. Not traces, not anomalies, powerful signals, clear, repetitive, and real. Nickel lines stacked perfectly above the background, rising in concentration the closer the object came. At 3.8 astronomical units, the output was already measuring above 1021 atoms per second. By 2.85 AU, it had increased by an entire order of magnitude. But the shock wasn't the presence of nickel, it was what was missing. Iron. Across all instruments from Webb to the very large telescope to Gemini, iron was absent. Flat. Dead. No signal, no trace, not even noise. That's not normal. In every natural comet and meteorite ever recorded, nickel and iron are partners. Their ratio is tightly coupled, 1 part nickel to 15 parts iron. Always. Until now. 3I Atlas broke this rule in the most violent way possible. Nickel outweighed iron by more than 40 to 1. There's no known natural process that can create such a split. In labs, separating these metals takes energy, machinery, intent. And here, drifting silently through space, was an object doing it passively, or maybe not passively at all. Even before the chemical signatures were fully decoded, something else caught the eye of the Pan-STARRS tracking network. 3I Atlas was accelerating, but not like a comet would, not from solar heating or pressure. It was too far from the sun, too cold for sublimation jets to generate that much momentum. And yet, over just 72 hours, the object's velocity increased by 0.12 ms2. That number may sound small, but for a body 11 kilometers wide, the size of a city, That kind of acceleration is immense, like watching a cruise ship pick up speed in the middle of a dead calm ocean without engines. The change wasn't smooth either. Analysts observed micro-jumps, jittery flickers layered over the main arc of motion, as if something inside the object was turning on and off again. Attempts to explain it through outgassing, fractured crusts, or solar wind failed. None matched the rhythm. None explained the regularity because it was regular. Every 7.2 hours, 3I Atlas brightened sharply and predictably, like a lighthouse. The brightness curve wasn't chaotic like tumbling debris. It was clockwork. Some suggested a sheet-like surface catching sunlight. Others proposed a hollow, rotating frame. But one thing was clear: this wasn't a rock. It was something moving with precision. And here, where the science begins to tremble, because when everything is ruled out, when sublimation, randomness, and chaos all fail, what remains is a possibility no one wants to face. That 3I Atlas is engineered, built, manufactured. Perhaps it's debris, a fragment, a derelict vessel from a civilization that died before Earth grew forests. But maybe it's something worse, something alive, a probe still active, a mechanism still responding, a system that sees us and doesn't care. Because no comet should wake up in the deep freeze, emit metallic nickel without iron, accelerate without fuel, and spin with mechanical rhythm. And yet here it is, doing all of that in front of our best instruments with no effort to hide. The James Webb override wasn't just a technical reaction. It was a whisper of panic. An unspoken consensus that this isn't normal, that this might be the first time we're looking directly at alien machinery. And even if we're wrong, the simple fact that we can't tell the difference anymore, that alone is the warning.